Hi everyone, I'm Aurora from Susan's family. Today I'm bringing you a new item, a planter storage box, kitten version. The storage box is divided into the pot, the floral foam, decorations and assembly. Each part is crocheted separately and then assembled together. Let's first learn the crocheting method for the pot. The pot is worked directly onto a pre-made acrylic board, crocheted in rounds counterclockwise. During crocheting, insert the mesh board and cotton stuffing. Before starting, let's take a look at the chart. In the chart, our plus number indicates the round number. The stitch instruction column shows what stitch techniques to use for that round, including how to increase or decrease, and the details of increasing or decreasing. The total stitches column indicates the total number of stitches for that round, the total number of stitches after completing all crocheting. Now watch me demonstrate the specific crocheting method. Start with round 1. Before crocheting, remove the protective film from both sides of the acrylic board. There's film on both sides. If it doesn't peel off easily, use scissors to help. Remove the film from the other side in the same way. Once settled, continue crocheting. Here, I'll continue using this small acrylic board to demonstrate the crocheting method. Place either side of the acrylic board facing you. Take the corresponding yarn. The swatch colors are random. Specific yarn, color scheme and hook size. Please refer to the detail page of our product and the paper instruction. Leave a yarn tail and make a slip knot. Make this loop slightly larger. Insert the hook into any hole on the acrylic board. Draw the yarn through. Adjust the loop size so it's level with the edge of the acrylic board. After completing that, crochet the first round. First, make one chain as the turning chain for single crochet. This beginning chain isn't marked in the chart. When crocheting in rounds, you always start with a beginning chain. The beginning chain doesn't count as a stitch. To conveniently mark the first stitch, place a marker on the loop on your hook. Place a stitch marker to mark it. If you don't have a stitch marker, you can use a paperclip or safety pin instead. The stitches inside parentheses indicate a group. Curly brackets mean the same as parentheses. X number indicates the number of times to repeat the pattern. First, crochet the stitches inside the parentheses. The number before X tells you how many single crochets to make. Here it means to work 2 single crochets in one space. When crocheting, place the yarn tail over your hook and pull it through together. The loop pulled through should be level with the edge of the acrylic board. Complete this stitch. After finishing the first stitch, take a look. The stitch marker marks the first stitch. Continue to work one more single crochet in the same small hole. That completes the stitches inside the parentheses. In the next hole, crochet 2 single crochets. This counts as 2 stitches made. Crochet 2 single crochets in one hole. Next is 3x, which means in the next small hole, crochet 3 single crochets. That completes the stitch pattern within the larger brackets. Repeat the pattern within the larger brackets as many times as needed. Continue all the way down the acrylic board's holes. Before working the last stitch, you can continue to mark it with a stitch marker. After completing, check the stitch count. The total stitches for each round are indicated in the table, so I won't repeat this reminder. The stitch count here on the swatch is not for actual reference. After completing this round, join with a slip stitch in the first stitch. Pull tight. The joining slip stitch does not count as a stitch. Make sure to tighten. The slip stitch is not indicated in the form. When crocheting in rounds, always finish by joining with a slip stitch and pull tight. The first round is complete. We'll consider the side with neat texture from round 1 as the right side of the entire piece. The wrong side has a relatively blurry texture. Trim off any unfinished yarn tails. Move on to crochet round 2. Our 2 is 13 single crochets, increase, times 6. First, make 1 chain stitch as the beginning chain for the single crochet. This beginning chain is not indicated in the table. In actual crocheting in rounds, you always start by making a beginning chain. We won't repeat this reminder later. Also note that, to make it easier to join at the end of each round, you can mark the loop on the hook after completing the beginning chain for single crochet each round. Just mark the loop on your hook. Actually, you can choose whether to mark it based on personal preference. Next, work 13 single crochets. Also note that, to keep the stitch pattern neat, you can gently pull to the left after each stitch, which helps reduce angling of the stitches. After finishing this way, the texture of the stitches will be straight and vertical. After that, work 1V single crochet increase, meaning 2 single crochets into the same stitch. This completes the single crochet increase. The stitches inside the parentheses are now completed. Repeat the stitch pattern inside the parentheses. Continue all the way around until this round is complete. The last stitch of this round should be worked into the last marked stitch of the previous round. After completing, work a slip stitch into the first stitch of the round to join. Pay attention, at the end of each round, always join with a slip stitch to the first stitch, and pull tight. Round 2 is now completed. Continue to crochet the third round. Make 1 beginning chain, then refer to the pattern and work 7 single crochets. One single crochet increase. Then crochet 7 more single crochets. This completes the stitch pattern inside the parentheses. Repeat the pattern inside the parentheses. Continue all the way around until the round is complete. After completing, join with a slip stitch in the first stitch. Pull tight. The third round is complete. Crochet rounds 4 through 7 next. The stitch techniques used have all been demonstrated before. The increases and decreases explanation means the same as before. Just follow the stitch pattern order in the table, and repeat the corresponding number of times. At the end of each round, remember to join with a slip stitch in the first stitch, and pull the slip stitch tight. In rounds 6 and 7, even means work into each stitch evenly, one by one. Here's the sample swatch after crocheting. Since it's a small sample, there are fewer rounds. The fabric has raised textures as your guide, round by round. Start counting from this round on the acrylic board going upward. The number of raised textures equals the number of rounds crocheted. This sample has 5 rounds completed. This is the method for counting rounds. Also, pay attention, after completing the 7th round, you need to measure the height. Compare it with the dimensions given in the chart. If there's a significant difference in size, adjust your hand tension and recrochet. Now continue to crochet the 8th round. Make 1 beginning chain, then work 17 single crochets. After completing, crochet 1 a short stitch decrease. First, make 2 incomplete single crochets separately. Insert into the left stitch. Yarn over and draw through. 1 incomplete single crochet is done. Crochet 1 more stitch. Insert into the left stitch. Yarn over and pull the yarn through. Now you've completed 2 incomplete single crochets. There are 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and draw through all loops on the hook in once. The single crochet decrease is complete. Continue with 17 more single crochets. This completes 1 group inside the parentheses. Repeat the pattern of 1 group to finish this round. Let me demonstrate the single crochet decrease technique once again. First, make 2 incomplete single crochets. Then yarn over and draw through all loops on the hook in once. The single crochet decrease is complete. Continue following the chart to finish this round. After completing, join with a slip stitch in the first stitch. Round 8 is complete. From now on, up to round 19, no new stitch techniques are used. Everyone, just follow the chart and complete round 19. Let's continue using this swatch to demonstrate round 20. BLO means to crochet into the back loop of the stitch. Take a look. A stitch consists of 2 strands like this. The strand closer to you is called the front loop. The other strand is called the back loop. This entire round is worked by crocheting into the back loops only. Make 1 beginning chain, then work single crochets into the back loop of each stitch from the previous round, one by one. Finish crocheting this round. If it's hard to pick the first stitch, just pull the yarn slightly to the right, then crochet into it. After completing the single crochet, you'll see a strand left in front, which is the front loop from the previous round. Join with a slip stitch in the first stitch to finish. Round 20 is now complete. For round 21, use the same crochet method as round 20, working again into the back loops only. For rounds 22 to 23, work even by picking up stitches and crocheting single crochets without increasing or decreasing. Continue down, follow the chart to complete these rounds. Now I'll continue with this swatch to demonstrate round 24. Flow means to crochet into the front loop only of the stitch. Work 1 chain. Then, correspondingly pick up the front loops of each stitch from the previous round and work single crochets. After completing the single crochets, you'll see a strand left behind, which is the back loop of the previous round. Continue down to finish this round. Join with a slip stitch in the first stitch after completing. Round 24 is complete. From here down to round 39, no new stitch techniques are used. Continue to follow the chart and finish these rounds. During the crocheting process, you'll encounter situations where you need to join yarn. Below I'll demonstrate the method of joining yarn. First, work an incomplete single crochet. Then take the new yarn, leave a yarn tail and hook the yarn out. This way, the single crochet is completed, and at the same time, the yarn is joined. Continue crocheting downward. While crocheting, place the yarn tail over your hook, and crochet while weaving it in as you go. This is the method of joining yarn. This is the swatch after finishing. Then chain 1 to secure. Leave a yarn tail at least 4 times the circumference of the opening, for sewing later. Move on to round 40. First join the yarn. Make a slip knot with the yarn tail. Locate the stitch from round 26. Take a look. On the right side of the fabric, you'll see the texture of front loops. Find where the front loop texture appears for 2 consecutive rounds. Here it's rounds 25 and 26. The stitch of round 26 is the insertion point. Then go down to find round 23. Just like this. Pick up stitches, and work even for the second round. Exit at the stitch position of round 23. Then turn the last round downward. Join the yarn at the point where the hook is inserted. The insertion point here. You can start at any position around the round. The entry and exit points. Try to keep them in a straight line. After pulling through the loop, adjust the loop size. Then pick up corresponding stitch positions one by one. Work a slip stitch, SL street. Here, do not tighten the slip stitch. Continue down and complete the entire round. When you reach the last stitch position, continue by working 1 slip stitch at the joining point. Leave a yarn tail and fasten off. Gently tighten. Then weave all the ends to the wrong side. Tie the 2 yarn tails together with 2 knots to secure. So round 40 is now complete. Next, assemble the flower pot. First take out the mesh panel. Wrap it around the acrylic board to determine the circumference. Here, both ends of the mesh panel should extend beyond a bit. If it's too long, you can cut off the excess part. Then fold the crocheted piece inward along rounds 20 to 21, following the previously worked fabric, starting from the bottom up, so these two rounds with front loops are at the front. After folding, the height should roughly match the flower bit's height. Once folded, fit the mesh panel against the pot to check the height. Pay attention not to let the mesh panel exceed the height of the flower pot. Cut off the excess part of the mesh panel. Note that you can leave a few extra grids here, to prevent cutting too much at once, and losing room for adjustment later. After trimming, place the mesh panel inside the fabric piece. Check the height again. The 20th to 21st rounds with front loops should be at the top, and the fabric should lie flat without sagging. Then take out the mesh panel. Double check the circumference. After removing the mesh panel, you can reduce it by about 2 grids. Then use a stitch marker to secure the size. Next, take any yarn. Thread it through a needle. Take the overlapping side of the mesh panel. Sew around using any method. Gently tighten as you sew. After sewing, check again against the acrylic board for size. Note: the sewn mesh panel should not extend beyond the acrylic board. If it does, you'll need to out 1 grid smaller, then re-sew it. Tie a knot to secure the yarn tail. Trim off excess tail. This way the mesh panel is securely fixed. Next, place the mesh panel on the inside of the fabric. Stuff fiberfill between the mesh panel and the inner layer of fabric. Fluff up the fiberfill slightly before inserting, then stuff it inside. Note, more decorations will be added later, so use less filling here. When stuffing, add more toward the lower part. Use less filling in the upper part. Don't overstuff. You can use a long tool to adjust the stuffing evenly. This is the sample after stuffing is complete. Continue folding the fabric inward from round 20 to round 21. Thread the reserved yarn tail onto a darning needle. Then sew the last round of single crochet stitches together with the first round stitches and the small hole. When sewing, make the stitch intervals smaller. It will make the sewing tighter. Sew around in a circle like this. When sewing, the last round of single crochet stitches don't need to be matched up exactly. Just sew around evenly enough. Take a look. This is the sample after sewing. Then inside the fabric where there's stuffing, pass the thread through several times back and forth. Next, tie a knot with the yarn tail. Then pull the knot into the inside of the fabric. Trim off any excess yarn tails. That way the yarn tail is hidden nicely. The assembly is complete. Next, let's tidy up the shape of the grid board. Make the flower pot as round as possible. Up to this point, the entire flower pot is completely done. Now let's look at the crocheting method for the floral foam. The floral foam consists of 2 layers, top and bottom. Both layers use the same crochet method. After crocheting each layer separately, then combine them together and crochet. Note that you need to finish all the decorations on the top part first, before combining and crocheting. No new stitch techniques are used. Now let's start crocheting the upper layer of floral foam. Begin with an adjustable magic ring. Make 1 beginning chain after completing. Work 7 single crochets into the magic ring. After finishing, gently tighten the starting tail of the yarn. Don't pull too tight, you'll need this small hole later. Then join with a slip stitch in the first stitch. Pull tight. The first round is complete. Continue to crochet round 2. Make 1 beginning chain. Then work 7 single crochet increases, SC2 in 1. When crocheting, keep the starting yarn tail from going above. After completing, join with a slip stitch in the first stitch. Pull tight. Round 2 is complete. From now on until round 11, the crochet techniques have all been demonstrated earlier. Refer to the pattern and finish the remaining part. Here's the sample swatch after finishing the top layer of flower mud. Lay it flat and tidy up. Put together the flower mud in the middle of the pot to fit well. If it's slightly larger than the pot opening, just undo one round. Once the size is confirmed, leave a yarn tail at least 4 times the circumference of the outer edge of the flower mud, for joining in round 12. This completes the top layer of flower mud. Then crochet another identical bottom layer of flower mud and set aside. Simply pull tight the starting tail of the bottom layer flower mud. Leave a short tail at the end and cut the yarn. Next, take out the grid board. You can fit well with the flower mud afterwards. Cut out a slightly smaller piece of grid board. Place the flower mud directly flush against the grid board. Then trim along the edge. Pay attention not to cut into the flower mud underneath. Or you can first draw a circle on the grid board, then cut out the grid board. Now demonstrate the method of drawing a circle. Take a yarn tail slightly longer than the diameter of the flower mud. Fold it in half and tie a knot. Adjust the position of the knot. Make the loop slightly smaller than the radius of the flower mud. Then use a needle as the center point. Mark the grid board with a pen. Use the pen to mark the other end of the loop on the grid board. After drawing, double-check the size. Then cut along the marked line on the grid board. Here I've already prepared one. Take a look at the grid board after cutting. It should be one circle smaller than the outermost ring. Now the grid board for the flower mud is ready. Next, let's learn the decorations. Decorations include pot decorations and plant decorations. First, let's start with the pot decoration. Divide it into feet, ears, tail, inner ears, long textures and short textures. Among them, the ears don't use any new stitch techniques or methods. Just follow the pattern chart to crochet. Now let's look at crocheting the feet. Start with a foundation chain. Crochet in rounds counterclockwise. Next, watch the demonstration. First, make a foundation chain of 4. Two means begin crocheting from the second to last stitch. Pick up the chain above. Work 2 single crochets. Then work 1 W3 SC in 1, which means 3 single crochets into the same stitch. The 3 SC in 1 is now completed. Then rotate the piece. On the left side chain, pick up the other 2 strands. Crochet 1 single crochet. That is, at the placement of the stitch below. Continue with a single crochet increase. After completing, join with a slip stitch in the first stitch. The first round is complete. Rounds 2 to 3 do not use any new stitch techniques. Just follow the pattern chart. This is the completed swatch. Next, let's work the round 4. Make 1 beginning chain. Work 8 single crochets. Then, 4T, Q4, HDC bobble stitch. Here, the brackets indicate the stitches inside are worked into the same stitch. The way to work a 4 HDC bobble stitch is, first work 4 incomplete half double crochets. Note, this stitch should be placed 1 stitch to the left, at the insertion point below, meaning into the stitch from round 2. And as you crochet, wrap over the top of round 3. Yarn over. Insert the hook and pull the yarn through. Now 1 incomplete half double crochet is done. Slightly lift the loop on your hook. Then use your right index finger to press down on the loop on the hook. Work another incomplete half double crochet. Yarn over. Insert the hook into the stitch. Note, crochet into the previous insertion point. Yarn over and draw through. Slightly lift the loop. Another incomplete half double crochet is completed. Continue to work 2 more incomplete half double crochets in the same spot. While crocheting, use your right index finger to press down on the loop on the hook. Continue crocheting. Now you've completed 4 incomplete half double crochets. Yarn over and draw through all loops on the hook in once. A 4-stitch bobble stitch using half double crochets is done. Continue to the stitch on the left side from the previous round. Work 1 single crochet. Tighten slightly as you crochet. Flip the bobble stitch loop outward. Continue and work another 4-stitch half double crochet bobble. First, below the left stitch, at the position of round 2, work 4 incomplete half double crochets. Pay attention to pull the loop higher. After completing, yarn over and draw through all loops on the hook in once. A 4-stitch half double crochet bobble is done. Then work 1 single crochet into the stitch from the previous round. On round 2, work another 4-stitch half double crochet bobble. Three single crochets. Join with a slip stitch. So round 4 is completed. For the following round 5, work 8 single crochet decreases. After completing, first stuff a small amount of fiberfill inside. Then join with a slip stitch in the first stitch. Next, leave a long tail and cut the yarn. After completing, sew to close the opening. Thread the reserved yarn tail onto a yarn needle. Pick up stitches from front to back in order. Pick up the front loop of the last round stitches. After picking up all stitches, pull the tail tight. Then pick up the adjacent segment and sew to secure it. Carry the yarn tail over to the back of the foot. This bobble stitch made with 4 half double crochets serves as the front of the foot, so one foot is now completed. Following this demonstration, crochet one more foot to complete. Continue working on the tail. Start the tail with a magic ring. Crochet in rounds counterclockwise. The technique has been demonstrated earlier. No new stitch pattern is used. Pay attention that you are alternating colors while crocheting. Here I'll demonstrate the color change method using a swatch. This swatch has completed the third round. This yarn will be used again later. Secure the yarn tail for now. Pull up a large loop and thread it through the yarn ball, then pull tight. Set this yarn aside for later use. Take out the new yarn. Attach the yarn in the stitch where the slip stitch was made in the previous round. Refer to the chart and complete rounds 4 and 5. Pay attention to the yarn set aside earlier. Do not carry it over your hook. This is the swatch after completing the rounds. This yarn will also be used again later. Secure the yarn tail first. Then pick up the yarn that was set behind. Attach it directly at the slip stitch. Make sure not to pull the yarn on the wrong side too tight, to prevent the fabric from puckering. After joining the yarn, continue crocheting as usual. Now take a look. When you know the yarn will be used again later in the work, just secure the end and set it aside like this. When joining yarn, don't pull it too tight. When you reach a point where the yarn is no longer needed, simply fasten off the yarn normally. Note that this tail is longer. You can gradually add a small amount of stuffing inside as you crochet. When crocheting to areas with fewer stitches at the back, you can stop stuffing. That's all for the method of handling tails. Now let's crochet the inner ear. No new stitch techniques are used for the inner ear. Start with a foundation chain of 4. Then on the second to last stitch, pick up the top loop of the chain. Make 1 slip stitch. Note not to pull too tight. Continue crocheting 1 single crochet to the left, 1 half double crochet. Then work a chain stitch to secure. Leave a yarn tail and fasten off. 1 inner ear is now completed. Follow this demonstration to make another inner ear. Next let's look at the long and short textures. These two pieces are similar in technique but differ in the number of starting chains. The new stitch used here is the F double crochet. Now I'll demonstrate using the short texture as an example. First start with a foundation chain of 5. After completing, begin at the 3rd chain from the end. Pick up the top loop of the chain. Work 3 double crochets. Once finished, secure the yarn and cut the yarn. One short texture is now completed. Simply follow this demonstration for all remaining long and short textures. Once all flower pot decorations are crocheted, next we'll proceed to assembly. Place the beginning chain of the flower pot at the back. Do the assembly on the front. First sew on the eyes. Take the corresponding yarn and thread it through the yarn needle. Locate round 9 of the flower pot. Count 4 to 5 stitches from the middle toward each side. Then mark them with stitch markers. Meaning there are 9 to 10 stitches between the two markers. The exact stitch count can be adjusted according to preference. Next, start by sewing on the left eye. Leave a yarn tail on the outside of the flower pot. Then at the marked stitch position, sew 4 to 5 vertical lines upward over 2 rounds. And one eye is done. Follow this method to sew another eye. Now both eyes are completed. After finishing, bring the needle out through the previously left yarn tail. Tie the two yarn tails together with a knot. Pull it back into the inside of the flower pot. Then trim off any excess yarn tails. Now the yarn tail is secured. Next on both sides of the eyes. On rounds 8 to 9 of the flower pot. 2 stitches away from the eyes. Slantingly sew 2 blush lines. With 2 stitches apart between the 2 blush lines. Be mindful not to pull the thread too tight. After sewing, secure the yarn tail. Now the blush is done. Then at the lower sides of the blush. Around rounds 3 to 5 of the flower pot. Sew 2 legs horizontally. Make sure the front side of the legs is facing up. Use any method you prefer to sew them on, just secure them firmly. The exact position can be adjusted according to your personal preference. After sewing, weave in ends and cut the yarn. Now one leg is done. Attach the other leg using the same method, sew it in a symmetrical position, then take the corresponding yarn, sew a horizontal line in the middle between the two eyes. Then sew a vertical line downward. This creates a T-shaped nose. After sewing, dip the needle into a small amount of glue. Apply a little underneath the line segment. To make the segment lie flat. Then secure the yarn end. Then take another piece of yarn, sew 2 whiskers on each side of the blush. Refer to the demonstration for the blush method. Then take the ears. Use the slip stitch side as the end point. Fold the ear in half, then place it in the proper position. Here it's placed on both sides of the foot near the pot opening. You can use stitch markers to secure the position of both ears. To maintain symmetry, pinch the ear to create an arc. Pick up stitches along the surface of the pot following this curve. And sew together with the 2 layers of stitches from the last round of the ear. Use a random sewing method as long as it's secure. Gently tighten slightly while sewing. Weave in ends and cut the yarn after finishing. Then take the inner ear. Trim the reserved yarn tail shorter. Apply glue on the wrong side. Be mindful not to use too much glue to prevent overflow. The pointed shape of the slip stitch. Position it below the ear. Attach on directly like this. Now the inner ear is glued on. Repeat this process. Assemble the other ear and inner ear as well. Next, attach the texture at the forehead area. Check the actual project. Place the long texture in the middle, and the short textures on both sides. You can first secure the textures at these 3 positions with stitch markers, then apply glue on the back side to attach them. Refer to the actual project for exact placement, or adjust according to personal preference. Pay attention to hide the yarn tails. When attaching, don't use too much glue. Use a yarn needle to help spread the glue along the edges. That's all for the long and short textures. Finally, sew on the tail. First, locate the position directly behind the front face expression, slightly below where the flower pot sits. Sew the last round of the tail at this position. Find the beginning chain of the tail. Align it with the flower pot. Then start sewing. Use any method you prefer, just make sure there are no small gaps after sewing. After finishing, move to the left. Sew the tail to the flower pot together. Pick up adjacent surface segments and sew them together. You can leave a small part unsewn. Then weave in ends and cut the yarn. This way the tail is done. We've finished the flower pot decorations. Next, let's learn about plant decorations, divided into succulents, mushrooms, leaves and assembly. First, let's learn how to crochet the succulents. 2 different color schemes are needed for the succulents. Each succulent is made up of different numbers and sizes of succulent leaves. The crochet technique for all succulent leaves is similar. Here I'll demonstrate using the small succulent leaf as an example. Start with an adjustable magic ring for the small succulent leaf, crocheting in rounds counterclockwise. No new stitch techniques are used. While crocheting, wrap the wire into the stitches. Now, let's show. Before crocheting, cut a piece of wire of corresponding length and set aside. Then take the yarn needed and cast on the adjustable magic ring. Then make a chain. Work 6 single crochets into the magic ring. When reaching the 3rd and 4th stitches, place the wire above the hook and wrap it together into the stitches. Note: the wire should remain on the wrong side of the piece. Continue to finish this round. Pay attention, do not wrap the wire in the last 2 stitches. After finishing, pull the ring tight. Join with a slip stitch in the first stitch. The first round is complete. Next, fold the wire in half. For the following rounds, refer to the pattern chart. The stitch techniques have all been demonstrated before. Always keep the wire on the wrong side of the fabric piece. Here's the swatch after completing the crocheting. The wire stays in the middle. Leave an ending tail and cut the yarn. Trim off the excess part of the beginning yarn tail in the center. Then close the opening. Weave in ends and cut the yarn. Adjust the shape of the succulent leaves. Now one small succulent leaf is completed. Next, take the blush. Lightly pick up a little. Continue to dab it on a paper towel. Remove the excess. Then apply blush to the first 2 rounds or so. The range and intensity can be adjusted according to personal preference. Once done, one succulent leaf is settled. Now let's take a look at the actual project. Here the leaves are arranged from small to large, top to bottom. Try to place them tightly together. For the specific shape of the leaves, you can adjust the details after the yarn over is complete. Next, I'll use these few leaves to demonstrate the assembly method. Since this is a sample swatch for demonstration, there are fewer pieces. First, position the leaves correctly in the order explained earlier. Then pinch the wire at the bottom. Try to bring all the leaves toward the center. Begin wrapping the yarn around it. Take a bit of glue with your finger, and apply it onto the wire. Apply glue in small amounts multiple times, to prevent excess glue from oozing out. Leave a yarn tail before starting to wrap the yarn. Wrap downward to achieve the height needed for the succulent. You can adjust the exact height according to the actual project or personal preference. After wrapping to the desired height, cut off the excess yarn tail, tie a knot on the wire to secure it. This completes the wrapping. One succulent is now completed. Following this method, make both color schemes of succulents to complete. Next, let's crochet the mushrooms. The mushrooms are divided into large mushrooms, mushroom 1 and mushroom 2. The crochet method for each mushroom is similar. All consist of a mushroom cap and a mushroom stem. The large mushroom consists of a large cap and a large stem. Mushroom 1 consists of a small cap and small stem 1. Mushroom 2 consists of a small cap and small stem 2. No new stitches or techniques are used. Here I'll use mushroom 2 as an example. To demonstrate the crocheting and assembly method, simply follow this demonstration for the other mushrooms. The small mushroom cap technique has been demonstrated before. I've already crocheted in advance. Now let's crochet small stem 2. First, prepare 4 wires in advance. Refer to the chart for the exact length. Roughly twist them together. Then set them aside for later use. Start crocheting small stem 2. Leave a long tail for sewing later. Then begin with an adjustable magic ring. Work 6 single crochets into the ring. After completing, place the wire into the middle of the starting ring. Weave through the twisted end. Tighten the yarn tail. Then leave the yarn tail on the right side. Then join with a slip stitch in the first stitch. So round 1 is complete. Then start working single crochets evenly. Finish crocheting round 2. Pay attention when crocheting to make sure the wire doesn't come out. Now round 2 is complete. For the remaining rounds, work similarly to round 2. This is the completed swatch. Fasten off the yarn leaving a tail. Then take out the little mushroom umbrella. Thread the reserved yarn tail onto a darning needle. Stuff some fiber fill inside. Then align it with mushroom stem 2. Sew together the final round. Here mushroom stem 2 has fewer stitches. You can sew 1 stitch of the mushroom umbrella to 2 stitches. After completing 1 round of sewing, make sure there are no small gaps. Then weave in the end and cut the yarn. Next take a new piece of yarn. Sew some small line segments along the side of the mushroom umbrella for decoration. The size of the segments, number and position can refer to the actual project, or adjust according to your preference. After sewing, weave in the end and cut the yarn. Now 1 small mushroom 2 is completed. Follow the demonstration shown here. Complete the remaining mushrooms. That's all for the mushrooms. Next we'll crochet the leaves. The leaves are crocheted in rounds starting from the foundation chain. No new stitch techniques are used. Now let's show. First make 2 chain stitches. Then crochet in rounds on the foundation chain. Make a beginning chain. Work a single crochet in the second to last stitch. Work 3 single crochets on the left side chain. Rotate the piece, work 2 single crochets on the left chain. When done, join with a slip stitch in the first single crochet here. First leaf is complete. Move on to crochet 4 chains between them. Mark the 4th stitch with a stitch marker. Crochet 2 more chains. Make a beginning chain. Starting from the second to last stitch, work 2 slip stitches. The oval shape in the diagram indicates not to pull too tight. Then make another beginning chain. Pick up below the chain stitch, that is, insert the hook into where the slip stitch was made and work 1 single crochet. Work 3 single crochets on the left side chain. Rotate the piece. On the left side 1 chain, that is, the stitch where the slip stitch was made. Work 2 single crochets. Mark the last stitch with a stitch marker. Once completed, at the first single crochet of the current leaf, and at the previously marked chain stitch, make 1 slip stitch together. Pull tight. Now the second leaf is complete. Continue crocheting the third leaf. The method is identical to the second leaf. Let me demonstrate again. Foundation chain 2. Make a chain. Starting from the second to last stitch, work 2 slip stitches. Then make another chain. Bottom chain. That is, the insertion point of the slip stitch. Pull through a single crochet. On the left side chain, pull through 3 single crochets. Rotate the piece. On the left side chain, pull through 2 single crochets. Then into the first single crochet of the current leaf, and into the previously marked position. Join with a slip stitch. Note, insert into the stitch of the second leaf. Insert from the right side. Pull tight. Now the third leaf is complete. Take a look. Starting from the 4 chain stitches interval, work 2 leaves as a group. Repeat to make 3 more groups of leaves. Refer to the previous demonstration for the technique. After completing 3 groups, continue with 4 chain stitches. Then leave a long tail for sewing. That's all for crocheting the leaves. Next, follow the demonstration here. Crochet the remaining number needed. Now assemble the plant decorations. The succulents and mushrooms have already been assembled separately. Here's a note. The assembly positions of plant decorations on the floral foam. Place 1 succulent in color 1 at the center of the floral foam. Secure the remaining succulents and mushrooms around the edges of the floral foam. Use the reserved yarn tail to sew the leaves onto the top of the floral foam. The sewing method for the leaves can be random. Just make sure they're securely attached. The assembly positions for the plant decorations. You can refer to the actual project, or adjust according to personal preference. Next, I'll use an arbitrary stem to demonstrate the assembly method for the central succulent in color 1. Here I'm using an arbitrary stem to demonstrate the assembly after completing the yarn over. The specific plant shape is not meant as an actual reference. Take out the top layer of floral foam. You can widen the center slightly with a crochet hook, creating a larger hole. Then insert the plant from the right side. After inserting, bend the wire outward from the small hole as the center, folding it around in all directions. If any part extends beyond the outer edge of the floral foam, remember to fold it inward. Once done, gently tighten the starting tail of the yarn. The central plant decoration is now assembled. Let's take a look at the actual project again. The assembly method for other plant decorations on the top layer of floral foam is identical to that of the central succulent in color 1. Only the position differs. If the small hole is too tight, when assembling, use the crochet hook to slightly enlarge the hole, then insert the wire part of the plant, and proceed as demonstrated earlier. This completes the assembly of the plant decorations onto the top layer of floral foam. Once all plants are assembled, take out the mesh board prepared earlier. Apply glue onto the mesh board and attach it to the top layer of floral foam. Continue applying glue onto the mesh board. Then attach the bottom layer of floral foam. Pay attention to aligning the top and bottom layers properly. Press firmly for a while to make the bond more secure. After waiting for it to be securely glued, pick up the yarn tail reserved on the top layer of floral foam. Pull the yarn through. Then move to the left. Insert your hook into the corresponding stitches of both layers. Work slip stitches, not tightened, evenly into each stitch. Complete this round. After completing, leave a yarn tail and fasten off. Then weave in the ends. This way the plant decoration is assembled. Once done, you can bend the wire of the plant according to your personal preference to shape it as desired. Up to this point, this potted planter organizer has been fully explained. If you still have unclear parts during the crocheting process, don't hesitate to join our Facebook group to get supports. Susan's Family, supporting your handwork experience, sharing the joy of life. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.